Hello, Sarah of SEK Handmade here, and welcome to my Learn to Crochet series. Today I'll be sharing with you how to create a slipknot. Let's go. One of the very first things you're going to do to start off your crochet is to make a slipknot. First, I want to say, lots of people know how to make slip knots. They've learned them in other areas. I think I learned how to make it when I was young doing friendship bracelets. And so if you recognize what a slip knot is, do not let the complexity of this tutorial throw you off your game. If you can make a slip knot, just make a slip knot. For those of you who are not friendship bracelet obsessed like I was as a young girl, let me show you the ins and outs of how to make a slip knot. The first thing I want to talk about is just a quick little bit of terminology so that we're all on the same page here. This end of your yarn, the very end, is called your tail. The other side that is attached to your ball of yarn is called your working yarn. So let's make a slip knot. The first thing you want to do to create a slip knot is to lay your yarn across your palm with the tail hanging off the front of your palm, your pinky end. Then you're going to tuck down your pinky and your ring finger to hold this tail in place. So tuck that down. I know it may feel a little awkward. You're going to then create a V or like a peace sign with your middle finger and your pointer finger. And then you're going to take your working yarn, that one that is coming from your ball, make sure that's important. And you're going to guide it up towards the tip of your finger. So we're going all the way to the top. We're going to wrap it around behind our fingers, our pointer and our middle finger, and then we're going to wrap it back towards our thumb. And if you want to, you can even trap it under your thumb now. So you can see I have my tail hanging down this way. It comes across, behind, around, and in front to create this little X. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tip my hand, so the back of my hand is facing up, and I'm just going to trap the end of my yarn between my ring finger and my middle finger. Now, this next step can either be done with your finger or with your crochet hook. Because I learned how to make a slip knot before I learned how to crochet, I usually just do this with my finger, but it absolutely works either way. So I'm going to start and show you with my finger, and then I'll go back and show you again with my crochet hook. I'm just going to put my finger underneath my first loop of yarn there, and I'm going to go over my back loop of yarn, and I'm going to pull that back loop through the front loop. And then I can let all of that drop off my fingers, keeping a hold of that back loop. Then you can just tighten that knot, and that's your slip knot. And a slip knot is adjustable, which is why it's such a great way to start. Then all you need to do is put it on your crochet hook, tighten it, not super tight. You can see I've got some play there. If you tighten it super tight, you're gonna have a really hard time starting your chain. So just slip it on and put it loosely around your hook. Make sure that you're around the widest part of the neck of your hook and not all the way up here, or your loop won't be the right size. And that's how we make our slip knot. Now, let's do it one more time, and let's do it with the crochet hook instead of my finger. So it's going to start off the same. I'm going to drape the yarn over my palm. I am going to trap it with my pinky and my ring finger here. I do want to give you the tip that I recommend keeping this tail end of your yarn fairly short. I find that especially with beginners, they like to give this lots of length, and it's really just not necessary. You're only going to need enough to weave in your tail in most cases, unless of course the pattern tells you differently. And then the other thing is, if this is shorter, you're a lot less likely to pick it up and try to crochet with it by accident, which will cause you to run out of yarn and you'll have to go backwards. So keep this short because a super long tail isn't necessary and can be confusing. All right, so I've trapped it under my pinky and my ring finger. I'm going to move the yarn up towards the tips of my fingers, wrap behind, over, and towards my thumb. I'm going to flip my fingers over, and then I like to trap it there. You don't have to if you don't want to, though. Same thing, give yourself some space between your pointer and your middle finger so that you have space to work in here. You're going to go under your first strand of yarn, over your back strand, and pull it through. And then I just kind of tip my crochet hook up so that that loop hopefully doesn't fall off like it just did. And then you can tighten it right around your hook. And there you go. That's how you make a slip knot to start your crocheting. Now, I have one tip for working with a slip knot, and I'm going to show it to you right now. Quick extra tip for when you're starting with a slip knot here. A lot of people don't love the little bump that gets created when you start with a slip knot. And here's my magical and super simple little tip. After you have worked back into your chain, which is another video, so check that out in the playlist, you can go ahead and undo the knot part of the slip knot. All you have to do is pull your tail through and give it a little tug, and that bump is totally gone. The only trick is you have to have already worked back into your chains. Otherwise, you can do it when you finish that first row or when you're totally done with your project. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you did, I would love it if you would like this video, subscribe to my channel, and turn on notifications. And then be sure to check out the rest of my Learn to Crochet playlist. There are lots of tutorials and tips there to help you work through all the beginning stages of learning to crochet. It is always my goal to help you grow confidently in your craft. Thank you so much for joining me, and happy crafting!